Market conditions majority bullish, 14-0. SP futures up 0.15 this morning. We're at 14-0 on the daily as well as the weekly time frame, connecting all-time highs as of a couple days back. Had a little bit of a pullback yesterday that has been relatively muted so far today. We did see a little pop higher on the breadth of the market up to 56.85 this morning and was bouncing around that 50% range. Nothing super exciting, but moving in a more bullish direction, up 7%, pulling a few more names of the S&P 500 back into uptrends or at least above the 50-day moving average. VIX still holding around that 16 number. We're still majority bearish on that at 9 and 5, but it's been creeping its way back up just a little bit here as we have markets at the upper end of the range, and we're seeing volatility just kind of slightly pushing back up again. We're at an area where we're certainly going to see some additional hedging taking place, some put buying taking place on that is what the VIX is going to be pulling in. If we take a look at S&P 500 closing out at 14-0 yesterday, 14-0 today, or on the weekly time frame there as well. Dow Jones Industrial Average 463 on DIA, majority bullish. Good solid spacing there on this overall trend. It's just kind of been chugging along to the upside here, weekly time frame. 14-0. Triple Qs also at potential new all-time highs this morning. If we do get a little push higher here around that 600 range and expansion in the overall trend towards the upper end of this range here, retracement level, pullback. Pivot point would be right around that 581 range on triple Qs. We also saw the Russell 2000 pushing up, majority bullish here, 14-0. Again, nice compression towards the upside here. New demand block around that 240 range as it is had a breakout on the weekly time frame and now looking to retest and look for some additional demand inside of this range. This 240 range all the way back to that 230 range is going to be demand location for Russell 2000. USO has been flirting with that 50% range and finding some new demand, pushing back up 2% yesterday. And so we'll see if that starts to move things back in the bullish direction. This has been a compressed trend here. We're at 14-0. That each of those days now it's moving it from bullish to bearish. It's just in that decision point. It's trying to decide which way it wants to break and holding inside of that tight range that really for the last couple of months. Gold continuing its overall uptrend, 346 on a breakout, all-time highs here as well. Let's look to see where our playground zone is. That's 322. So pulling all the way back to 322 on gold, still a bullish trend. Overall uptrend. 2-year Treasury majority bearish at 13, pulling back a little bit this morning. 357 on the 2-year, majority bearish on the weekly time frame. 10-year, see if it's pulling back here as well. 413. Found a little support around that 4% range, pushing back up to 413. Still in an overall downtrend on rates as well. Majority bearish at 9 and 5 on the weekly time frame. A couple stock ideas to consider today. You've got INBX, which has moved back into momentum, was already in momentum, but just curling back up, giving a confirmation bar here as well. Had some big volume 2 or 3 days back. INBX, also CCB in the banking space. Confirmation, should see banks continue to do well here as interest rates pull back or as that spread widens out a little bit between the long end of the yield curve and the short end of the yield curve, then banks typically do well in those environments. One name that was a little bit deeper in the retracement here, which was these patterns have been working pretty well. Just when market conditions are real bullish like this, we've seen bouncing off of that 618 retracement, deeper counter trend that kind of gets rid of the excess supply right here and pulls new demand in. So we're seeing a big bar here and pulling back inside of that range, breaking up above a structural location here again, that 574 range. So interesting name, even though it's not in momentum, because that's primarily what we're focusing on is names that have already shown that strength. But what happens when they're working their way that direction to get to that point? That can be an earlier entry point location as well. Those are also going to pull up in the new buy scan. Not all of them are going to be in momentum. We're trying to look for names that are already in momentum like this, but we do get some that'll show up in that list that are a little bit deeper in retracement. In fact, BBAI was one good example because that was pulled back here into that scan, new confirmation bar at that 618, big volume coming into that name. Now BBAI is back into momentum as well and looking for breakout and confirmation move there, but keep an eye on some of those names in that new buy list as they are turning the corner and curling back up, particularly in the deeper corrective zones. Those can really get some momentum and accelerate from there. That'll do it for today's update. Everyone have a fantastic day today.